or if you're Pugin, you'll remember the last name, and sometimes you'll see A-W-N Pugin. Practically nobody uses the whole name. He came and wrote a book which was extremely influential in bringing on the Gothic revival. Contrasts was the name of the book, and I put in what he called it, the subtitle, a parallel between the noble edifices of the 14th and 15th centuries and similar buildings of the present day, showing a decay of taste. This is, incidentally, all of this is now posted on Artstor, this whole lecture. What is he looking at? Okay, this is then, this is now. And he's saying, look how lovely it was then, look how romantic, well, he's not saying romantic, but how lovely and how awful it is now. What was one of the goals, remember, if you remember back to last term, the Gothic cathedrals were reaching up here. What were they trying to do?
Reach heaven.
For why? Who were they looking for?
God.
Who were they trying to glorify?
God.
God. Okay, so by definition, if Gothic is all about God, and this is about mammon, or industry, or making money, this is definitely better, right? This is more moral. This is so anybody who is going back to this is morally worthier. And this is one of the structures he illustrated in contrast. And this is the kind of interior, I'm sorry, I wish we could get these reduced a little bit.
I think if you pull up the cart, it might get smaller.
No, I can't get the card any further back.
Not that, just closer like this way. If you push it. There.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I was doing it reversed. Yeah. Okay. So this is the kind of interior that Pugin felt was more appropriate for the time. To us nowadays, I mean, this is a lot of clutter, this is a lot of stuff going on. I could just put this on the screen and show it to you. And again, you know exactly what it is. Now, you don't know just in terms of what you have to end up learning in this course versus last term. I don't necessarily care that you would know that this is a Pugin interior. I'll show you another one. A famous interior I want you to know by name. Something like this I want you to know by style. I wanted to remind you that it takes, I mean, Turner is one of the most famous English painters, but I'm showing you this painting because the Houses of Parliament burned in 1834. What that meant is they had to build new Houses of Parliament. I also made reference in this slide, the Great Fire of London in 1666, things burned a lot. They gave them another opportunity to rebuild the city. Just to refer to things that happened through history, there was a Chicago fire in the late 19th century. Now I can't remember the date. There was a San Francisco fire in the early 20th century. Anytime something like that happens, there's a great opportunity to rebuild, and sometimes the rebuilding does something great. The opportunity that we had in New York, this is an editorial comment, in 9/11, we could have done something great at Ground Zero, and it's not going to be anything great. It will be a bunch of unrelated buildings, hopefully a couple of them good. But this resulted in this. Whether you like it or not, this is a very important piece of architecture. This was under the influence of Pugin. Charles Barry, the architect, designed the Houses of Parliament, which properly designated the building is the Palace of Westminster. You can call it either one, but we're talking about the same structure. Pugin influenced the idea of doing this in Gothic style. If you go to London now, this is offhand. It's the only thing except that churches in the main St. Paul's in London is a neoclassical, it's a Baroque building. This is dominant in being a style which eclipses anything else in the city. Now, this is what Puget did. Puget did the interiors. Now, for instance, this is an interior, I want you to know. And this is clearly Gothic Revival, clearly also much more decorated, much more gilded and ornamented than the Gothic interiors we've seen. Of course, it's the House of Lords. It's not a church. And this details of this area, the front area of the chamber, and I don't remember what he's called, the governor or the senate, the chief person of the House of Lords. And this is also where the ruler sits, where the king or queen sits. And all of these are taking figures from medieval life. This armoire is a much simpler cabinet. He did this one for the Great Exhibition of 1851. But you see, even in something scaled down to rather human size, to ordinary residential size, all of the motifs are taken from the Gothic vocabulary, but they're made by machine. You can do machine ornament. And these are well done, but this is not anymore a piece totally handcrafted. And you see, I'm bringing it down to a little less extravagantly ornate pieces that you could envision as being used for an average, not average person necessarily, but being used for a real interior, but still drawing on the Gothic Revival with little elements like this taken from it. And as I said, his wasn't a matter of the romance, his was a matter of it being an appropriate style of good taste. This is one, Puget did a number of textile and floor and tile designs and wallpapers, some of them. And generally what you see is abstracted motifs, geometric. You'll see suggestions like this sometimes of I'm not sure if that's a semi-dragon. But what you're not seeing is anything that goes back to classicism or Rococo or explicit renderings of flowers. These are abstractions of flowers. And here's sort of an idea of what a home would have looked like at this period. And okay, talking about the most influential event of the time. Influenced by Puget and under the direction or under the encouragement